Hello viewers, my name is Charisma Nyambalo from BCM District. Welcome to Eastern Cape Department of Education Broadcast Studio. Today's lesson is on the overview of Economics Paper 2. To start with, I'm going to give you the sections or the topics that are covered in Economics Paper 2. We have got microeconomics and we also have got contemporary economic issues. With microeconomics, we have got perfect markets, we have got dynamics of imperfect markets, where we'll be looking at monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic. We also have got market failures, where we'll be basically looking at the causes of market failure, the consequences of market failure, and we also have got cost-benefit analysis. On the side of contemporary economic issues, we have got inflation, we have got tourism, and environmental sustainability. Very short and sweet section. Now, before we can get into detail with these two sections that I've highlighted to you, let us look at some common errors and mistakes and observations that we see when we are marking your scripts. The first one I have here is leaving blanks in multiple choice questions and match column A and B. Really, these questions, you are given the answers. Yours is to choose the correct one. Even if you don't know the answer, better to guess an answer and put it there, because there's no need for leaving it blank. Who knows, you might guess the correct one. Another thing is writing abbreviations and examples in 1.3. For example, if the answer requires you to write indigenous knowledge systems, then you write IKS. In 1.3, it is clear in the instructions that you do not write abbreviations as well as examples. So take note of that reminder. Another problem is swapping terms. The common one is inflation targeting, which is often referred to as targeting inflation or target inflation. So be careful when you are dealing with these terms. The other one is repeating the question. Instead of answering it, you repeat the question. I've put in here an example where the question says, briefly describe leisure tourism. And then Elena would talk about leisure tourism and say, leisure tourism is whereby tourists travel for leisure. You haven't answered the question. The question requires you to describe that leisure tourism. So you have to explain what it is when people are visiting for relaxation and they visit friends and relatives and other attractions, not to repeat leisure in your answer. Another common problem is to write a wrong essay. Maybe you did not properly read the essay, or you studied another essay, now you are seeing a different essay, and you start writing a wrong essay. And in some cases, is maybe not understanding what the essay is talking about. Common one is essays on inflation. Maybe the essay is talking about the consequences of inflation or the measures to combat inflation. Now, you go ahead and talk about the causes of inflation, the demand pull inflation and the cost push inflation, instead of writing the essay that is given there. That is a common problem. Another one is not labeling the axis. When you are drawing, we have got the vertical axis, we have got the horizontal axis. They need to be labeled. I'll look at this a little bit later. And also there's something known as labeling on the axis. I'll also touch on that one when we are doing examples. Another problem that we have is in section B, whereby you are given 3 questions and the instruction is clear. You have to answer only 2 out of those 3. Most learners, they answer all 3 questions. And now the problem is we are not going to mark all the 3 questions. Rather, we take the first 2. Now, maybe your first question was not so good and your last question was good. we are going to choose for you because you could not choose where you were supposed to choose and only mark the first two, and you are going to lose marks because of that. Now, another problem that we have on leaving out the additional part. The additional part is 10 marks. Now, by leaving it out, you are forfeiting 10 marks. Whilst we are still there on the essay, there is also a common problem, not writing the conclusion. You write a lot of points in the body, but when it comes to the conclusion, you just leave it out. Or maybe the conclusion is written, but the conclusion is just a statement. It doesn't mean anything. Remember, the conclusion is a higher order response. Let me just give an example. Maybe you were talking about, your essay was on inflation. Now you come to the conclusion. Now you say, inflation is not good for the economy. Full stop. That is not a higher order response. You need to do something about that conclusion. So in a conclusion, don't write a statement that maybe when it is being marked, we are going to ask questions and say, so what? Conclusion, you are saying that inflation is not good for the economy. So what? Give us a recommendation. What do you think we can do? Make a comment, make a suggestion, give your own opinion. Is there somewhere where there is a loophole that can be fixed and then we don't have a problem of inflation? So make sure that you conclude at a high note, not giving a statement or repeating a statement that is there in the body, or maybe starting to define a term. Maybe your introduction, you defined inflation, then you define again inflation in a different way. That is not going to give you marks. This is a higher order response. Another common problem is wrong numbering of questions or leaving out numbering on the essay. Let me talk about leaving out numbering on questions. Maybe it's your 1.1. You write 1.1.1. You move on to 1.1.2, then you skip 1.1.3, and you go to 1.1.4, which means that all the answers that you are going to give after 1.1.3 are going to be wrong answers because you are not writing them on the correct question. So please guard your marks. Make sure that when you write your section A 1.1 and you write these 8 questions from 1.1.1 to 1.1.8, you check if you have written all of them and not skip even one, because that is going to result in putting correct answers but on a wrong question, and you leave out marks. And the other one that is frequently left without numbering is the essay. Maybe you have been studying this essay, and I know when you are opening that question paper, you start from the back. You have seen the essay that you were studying, even in the past 30 minutes before you come for the exam, or maybe last night is the one you were studying, and you are so excited. You start with question 5, you start with question 6. Now, instead of writing question 6, you just start by writing introduction. You write your introduction, you start writing your essay. That is a common thing that we see when we are marking, that essays are not numbered at all. Please make sure that you number your essays. Whilst we are still there, we have got other issues like confusion of terms. Most popular ones are confusion between monopolistic and monopolist. Monopolistic is a market structure that combines the features of perfect markets and monopoly, whereas a monopolist is referring to one monopoly. We call it a monopolist. So please be careful of that. There is also confusion of marginal revenue and marginal cost. With marginal revenue, we are looking at the revenue that you get after selling one extra unit. So selling goes with marginal revenue. Selling goes with revenue. But now on the side of marginal cost, for us to sell this product, we had to produce it. So this is the cost that is incurred when you produce one extra unit. So producing goes with the cost of producing that product. So take care of them. There is always swapping, whereby when someone is now talking about marginal revenue, they say it's the revenue that is gained after producing one extra unit, instead of saying after selling one extra unit. So be careful of that. There is always a mix-up here. Another common one is the description of a tourist and tourism. A tourist, we are referring to the person that is taking activities in tourism. Whereas tourism, it has got to do with the activities, the traveling to see attractions. That is tourism. You are moving away from your usual place of environment. It's the activity. But tourist is the individual. Please take note of that. We often see these common mistakes and misconceptions. We also have got climate change. When you are asked to briefly describe climate change, most learners, they say it is changes in weather. That is climate change, instead of saying changes in weather patterns. So we need to be careful when we are describing these concepts. Also, administered prices and administered prices inflation is often confused with consumer inflation. So please be careful when you are describing administered prices or administered prices inflation. Another problem that we see, especially in the data response, is writing the war response. You have been given a case study. Now they want that first question which says, identify an economic concept in a sentence or from the case study. Then the learners will now write the whole sentence instead of just identifying the economic concept that we are looking for from the data response. That is a problem that we often see. Then another one is giving two responses. Maybe you are not too sure, you are taking a chance, you are guessing. That is not going to give you marks. For example, in the multiple choice, your 1.1.1, I'm just giving as an example, you say the answer is A or D. You have to choose one. The answer is only one. So be careful, this is not going to help you. Give us only one response. Now, another one is often when you are asked to describe a certain economic concept. So this economic concept might be a concept that also have got a formula, total revenue, total cost, average cost, those concepts. Instead of giving a description, most learners, they tend to give a formula. We are not asking for a formula. Rather, we are asking for a description. So please give a description, not a formula. If you want to use the formula, make it in a descriptive way, not to say total revenue divided by quantity. Average revenue is equal to total revenue divided by quantity. That is a formula. But we want a description. What is average revenue? The revenue that we get per unit sold. So that's what we'll be looking for and not the formula. Now, the other one is on incorrect positioning of the marginal cost curve and the average cost curve when we are drawing graphs. That is going to give us problems now, because once your graph has got the average cost curve and it has got the average cost curve, now the marginal cost curve is there, but they are wrongly positioned. It means that you are not going to, let's say you want to do the short run equilibrium positions for perfect markets. You are not going to have the correct shading of the economic profit or economic loss. So please be careful when you are positioning them, so that you can have the correct the shading that you are going to do on your economic profit or economic loss. And actually, whilst we are still on this shading, there is also a big problem when it is a normal profit. Thereby, you see, Elena, all the graphs, all the curves are tangent. But we still have got learners who will go ahead and still label a normal profit. There is no way you can label a normal profit because everything is tangent. So there is nowhere to label the normal profit. So please, there is no shedding, there is no shedding of the normal profit. We only shed economic profit and economic loss. It's a common thing that happens. All the curves here are tangent. There is nowhere to shed. Another common mistake is whereby the question is asking for drawing and for using a graph. With the aid of a graph, explain a certain concept, minimum price, maximum price, with the aid of a graph. Now, the common thing is to draw the graph and leave it. Once you draw the graph and leave it, the question is saying with the aid. Once you see the word aid, know that it means help. So you are not just drawing the graph. You are drawing the graph and use the graph to help you with the explanation. So once you just draw, you are now forfeiting the marks for explanation. You are limiting your marks to only 4 marks instead of maybe the 8 marks that you are supposed to get. So please draw the graph and use the graph to help you in your explanation. And when you are explaining that graph, make sure that you are making use of the points that you have labeled in that graph. The curves that are there, they must help you. That's what it means by saying with the aid or with the aid of a graph. Another major problem is not reading instructions. 10 minutes before you are given your question paper, you are supposed to read those instructions because there's exam anxiety. Some of the things you have been doing them, but because this is your exam, you might forget some of the things, but the instructions are there to remind you. One popular instruction is to leave 2 to 3 lines between your sections. And then even these instructions of choosing only 2 questions in section B, they are there. Then in section C, you are supposed to answer only 1 essay. The instructions are there. Also, there's an instruction to say only use ink. We see that some scripts, there is a pencil, but you are only asked to use ink. And the ink, the color of the ink is also specified. Use black or blue. We see now there's purple, there's yellow, there's all kinds of colors. But it's because someone did not read instructions. Now, let us now look at the structure of the paper. The whole paper is made up of 150 marks. And those 150 marks, they are divided into 2. There is 70 marks, 75 marks from microeconomics, and another 75 marks from contemporary economic issues. Now, this means that you cannot choose one side and say, microeconomics is too difficult for me, then I'm only going to do contemporary economic issues. You are saying 75 marks, I don't need them. You have to do both sides. Now, with section A, there are 30 marks. Those 30 marks are divided into 2. There is 15 marks from microeconomics and another 15 marks from contemporary economic issues. Coming to section B, this is the major section. This is the section that you should give it your all. This is the section that is going to give you 80 marks. Most of your marks are going to come from section B. You are given 3 questions, but you are supposed only to answer 2 questions, and each question carries 40 marks. Now, how are these questions distributed? Question 2 is microeconomics. Question 3 is your contemporary economic issues. Question 4, it has got microeconomics and contemporary, 20 marks and 20 marks. There is equal weighting of the marks there. Now, your favorite section, which is section C, has got 2 essays. You only answer 1, and that section is going to give you 40 marks. Question 5 will be your macroeconomics. Question 6 will be your contemporary economic issues. Now, let us focus on section A. Section A has got 3 subsections. 1.1, which is the multiple choice questions, 8 questions with 2 marks each. 1.2 has got match column A and B, 8 questions and 1 mark each. And we have got 1.3, the give one word. There are 6 statements that are given whereby you are supposed to come up with an economic concept. And they are all 1 mark each, giving us a total of 30 marks. Now, section B, we said that there are 3 questions, question 2, 3, and 4. I've also noted what each question carries, but I want to focus on this. The structure is the same. If you look at these 3 questions, they start with 4 marks. They go to 10 marks, which is your data response, your 2.2 and your 3.2 and 4.2, then 3.2, and then your 2.4, which is your paragraph questions, and your 2.5, which is your higher order question. Now, let us go a little bit into that section, section A, the multiple choice questions. I'm going to give you some tips on how to answer and choose the correct answer. The answers are already given to you. You are now supposed to choose the most correct answer. For example, we have got 1.1 here, and I took it from June 2022. The revenue derived from the sale of 1 additional unit of product is called. Now, the first tip is, before you answer, before you look at the responses, try to answer with what you already know. We already know what is an additional unit, and the guiding word here is sell. Remember, selling goes with revenue. But which type, what are we talking about here? Obviously, we know what we are talking about. We are talking about marginal revenue. But let us look at the responses that are given. We have got average. Nope, that is not average what? Revenue. We have got extra. We don't even talk about extra revenue at any one given point. We have got total revenue. Nope, this is not total revenue. Our correct answer is D, which is your marginal revenue. Now we go now to the to where we have in our answer book, where we have already written the numbered our 1.1, and we make sure that this answer we are taking it to 1.1.1, and we put letter D. Now, since you are revising, you are not going to write this paper. This paper was written in June 2022. You are revising. I like this section. It gives you an opportunity to revise a lot of things in a very interesting way. You have picked up the correct answer, but we are not looking for answers here. Rather, we are revising. So what is the next thing to do? I've seen that. I now know what is a marginal revenue. Can I describe it without looking? Try to revise marginal revenue on your own without looking at the multiple choice. Now, there are other concepts that are there. Average revenue, total revenue. Why not also try and remember the descriptions. Look at your key concepts. Try to revise them as well. Try to remember the formulas, because we might need formulas. How about this marginal revenue that I've been given here? What is the formula? I now know the description, but what is the formula in case I need to use it somewhere? You see, you are not looking for answers. You are revising for the exam. This paper was already written. You are not going to get this paper. Now, let us move to 1.1.2. The institution that investigates restrictive business practices is the competition. Now, where are we now? is the competition police, and it has got 3 bodies, and they are looking for one of those bodies. Now, or we call them institutions. Now, which one can it be? The one, what is guiding us is investigating. Where does investigation take place? It should be the Competition Commission. So you take it. It's the Competition Commission. But what are the other responses? Tribunal, appeal court, police. Those are not the ask responses that we are looking for. But again, like we did on the first one, you now know the Competition Commission in this multiple choice. But how about if they say briefly describe it? Do you know how to briefly describe it? How about if it is a paragraph question? It's a 2.4. It is saying discuss the Competition Commission and the Competition Tribunal. Do you know how to make it a paragraph question with 2 points under each subheading? Why not do it right now? Because you are revising for the exam. You are not looking for answers here. Now, 1.1.3, the cost that changes with the level of output is known as. So this is a cost. It's not a revenue. And this cost changes. As output is increasing, it also increases. What can that be? Try to answer before you look at the responses. Then you go and read the responses. Marginal cost? Nope. Variable cost? Yes, but we also read the other responses. Average and fixed? Nope. This should be the variable cost. Now, this is getting interesting now. Marginal cost. Do you know how to define marginal cost? Do you know the formula for marginal cost? How about these variable costs? Do you know how to define them without looking? Now, how about the average cost, the fixed cost? Now, before you go anywhere, how about try and draw them? Show us your fixed costs. Now, show us these variable costs. Show us these total costs. You are revising. You are not looking for answers. Try to take this to other levels. Okay, I now know how to draw and label them. What are the relationships between these cost curves? What is the relationship? What other notable relationships are here? Okay, the total cost here is is a summation of the fixed cost and the variable cost. The difference between the total cost and the variable cost is my fixed cost. Why not look at those relationships? The variable cost, they start at 0, whereas the total cost starts on the fixed cost. Look at those relationships. We are not looking for answers. We are revising. Now, let's go to 1.1.4, a market structure that is dominated by 2 producers. What is it? It's a market structure. Number 2, dominated by 2 producers. Let's try and answer without looking. We know this one. It's a duopoly. But now, it's talking about perfect market, monopoly, which are all wrong in this case. What we want is your duopoly. But since we are revising, how about looking at the characteristics of perfect markets, defining perfect markets, monopoly? How about quickly looking at the how you define monopoly? How about the characteristics of monopoly and also monopolistic competition? How about looking at them? Because we are not looking for answers here. We are revising for the exam. This is an opportunity for you to cover a lot of topics without in a more exciting way. Now, if you look closely, from 1.1 up to 1.1.4, this is our microeconomics. From now onwards, your mindset should change. We are now going to be looking at contemporary economic issues from 1.1.5 up to 1.1.8. Let us have a mindset that is saying we are doing contemporary. Now, 1.1.5, a situation where prices rise so rapidly that people lose confidence in the value of money can be regarded as what? Now, let us try and answer now using what we know already. And then Now look at the other responses which are there. Of course, we know that this is hyperinflation. But now, do we know how to define inflation? Remember, if it is going to come as an essay, that is your starting point. You need to define inflation. Do you know how to define it? Now, we also have got stagflation. What is stagflation? Why not look at it? Rates of unemployment. Look at that. You see, you are doing it in a very interesting way. You are not looking for answers. You are revising. How about headline inflation? What is headline inflation? Why not look at it right now? Now, let's go to 1.1.6. When tourists visit South African game farms, it is referred to as. So they are visiting game farms, which means that there's something to do with the environment. This is going to guide us. So there is always something in your multiple choice which will help you pick up the correct one. These are all types of tourists. They can be business tourists, they can be cultural tourists, they can be outbound tourists. But our correct answer would be eco-tourists. Why? Because they are visiting game farms. So how about also looking at the other types of tourists, business tourists, cultural tourists? How about if you are given a case stand, can you identify them? How about if you are given a picture, can you also identify them? So we need to also look at the other options that are given. Now, 1.1.7, the command and control approach that focuses on the environmental impact. So we know where we are. These are measures that are taken by the government for environmental sustainability. Now, we are focusing on the command and control. Now, this has got an impact on the environment. Now, which ones are the obvious wrong? In some cases, you need to eliminate the obvious wrong. Here, it's not to do with the Rio +20 agreement. It's not to do with voluntary agreements. Our answer is going to come out of these two. Is it the quantity standards? How much is emitted in terms of pollution? Or is it the harm? So if it is the harm, then it means it is the impact. So we are going to select the quality standards as our answer because it is the one that talks to the impact. 1.1.8, the process where trees are removed from the land and not replaced. They are removed and not replaced. Where are we? Environmental sustainability. Let us look at the responses: degradation, erosion, deforestation, recycling. Now, we want removal. Obviously, deforestation. D means you are removing. So it should be deforestation. We are removing this forest. We are removing these trees. So it should be deforestation. But again, what is degradation? What is erosion? What is recycling? Go and look at those things because they are going to help you in your revision. Now, we can see our answers there. Now, coming on that section A, I also brought the match column A and B. Now, if you look from 1.1, from 1.2.1 to 1.2.4, this is all microeconomics. And from 1.2.5 all the way to 1.2.8, this is now contemporary economic issues. Now, again, you start by writing your questions. You do your numbering, check if it is still correct. Now, the easiest way of answering match column A and B is by looking at your column B first. Now, you read the statement. It's increase in salaries that result in workers paying a higher income tax rate. Remember, there is a mixture. There is microeconomics, there is contemporary. Where are we here? Should be contemporary. Most likely, our answer is from 1.2.5 to 1.2.8. But we still read everything. Is it a market? Is it imperfect market? Is it minimum wage? Is it merit goods? Is it core inflation? Is it a bracket creep? First thing, you remember, you try to answer without looking. If you don't see if the answer doesn't come, check what you have. Now we can see this is bracket creep. Now you take letter A and you bring it to 1.2.6. You write A, a very clear A. Now you go to the next one, imposed on the output of goods that generate external environment. Again, we are on this side because we are looking at environmental sustainability. So it's imposed on the output. What can that be? Again, we read everything, but check it out. Is it core inflation? Is it indigenous knowledge systems? Is it green taxes? Obviously, it's your green taxes. You take letter B, you write it on 1.2.8. Now, let's go to C. Traditions, rituals, and music that are unique to a given culture or society. Again, where are we? We should be in contemporary economic issues. You check, it's not a market, it's not imperfect market, it's not a minimum wage, it's not merit good. It is here in contemporary economic what? Issues. But here we are only left with two. Is it core inflation? Is it indigenous knowledge? There's nothing to do with inflation here. So we take the letter C and we write it here on our 1.2.7. Now, let us look at the D. What is D saying? Firms that have control over the market price. Where are we now? We should be in microeconomics. Firms that have control over the market price. Now, which one can this be? Let's look. Is it a market? Nope. Is it an imperfect market? Is it minimum wage? Is it merit goods? Obviously, it should be our imperfect markets. So we take the letter D and we put it on imperfect markets. They do have control over market prices. We know about that. Now, let's go to E. Mechanisms that bring together buyers and sellers of goods and services. Again, where are we? We should be in microeconomics. So what is this? This one is a given. We know it. What is this? We now look at what is left. It's a market, minimum wage, merit goods, core inflation. No, it should be here. So what is it? It is our market. So, and what letter is it? It's letter E. So we take letter E and we put it here. Now, let's go to the next one. These are undersupplied by the market, but beneficial to the society. Where are we? We are in microeconomics. And we are talking about market failure here. So, what are these ones that are undersupplied? Try to think for the answer before looking. Now, the two are already gone. Is it a minimum wage? Merit goods? Kind of looking good here. Core inflation is also still there. But the most correct answer here is your merit goods. Now, what letter is it? It is our letter F. And we take it and we put here. Now, let's go to G. Excludes items from the CPI basket that show high price volatility. Again, this should be on contemporary. So we look at what is left now. We are left with minimum wage, core inflation. Which one can be the one that is talking about volatility? We take G. This should be core inflation. Now, a market structure with a few firms selling heterogeneous products. What can it be? Can it be a minimum wage? No, it can't be. So this is known as a distractor. you will see that in most in most match column A and B, there is always a distractor. But let us finish, and then I can come and talk about this distractor. Let us look at I. The lowest amount that employers are required by the government to pay their workers. We know it. We know it by heart. It's our minimum wage. And at this note, you can even try and draw and explain minimum wage. But let me explain a little bit on distractor. You see that H is talking about a market. And if we also look at D, is also talking about firms. So this was a distractor for imperfect market. There is always a distractor for one of the concepts. So sometimes you might have picked a wrong one and you then get to the distractor. Please try and check if you really chose the correct one. And make sure that whatever you have here, look again. Have you taken the correct letter to the correct question number? Please guard your marks. This is very important. You don't want to take a letter to a wrong question. Check, double check what you have done and check the distractor. Did you pick the correct one? These are our answers. Now, 1.3. This is one that you need to read the instruction. It says no abbreviations and no acronyms and no examples. This one, I'm not going to do it with you, but just check. You will see that there is something that you need to learn. For example, here, period of production, at least one factor of production is fixed. We are talking about short run and long run. Please do it as a paragraph question as well. A market in which illegal goods are sold, bought and sold. Where are we? What are we talking about here? Go and check if it is a maximum price. Why not just draw it and also do it and also try and practice it? I want to talk about this one. The cost to society that is not included in the market price. We are talking about externalities here. But the answer here cannot be externalities, because externalities, they look at both cost and benefits. But this statement is only talking about the costs. So it should be an external cost, or it should be a negative external externality, not externality. Most learners, they like to use externality, but remember, externality should have both costs and benefits. But once they stick to one, if they are talking about cost, then it should be a negative externality or an external cost. And if they are talking about the benefit to the society, that is a positive externality or a positive externality, not a negative externality. So that is also very important. Another one of interest is tourists who are from other countries who come to South Africa to visit places of interest. So if a tourist is coming from another country, they are coming into our country in. So it should be inbound tourist. There is a big confusion between the two. If these are South African tourists who are visiting other countries outside South Africa, they are going out of South Africa. That is an outbound tourist. So please take note. Outbound, they are going out. They are South African tourists who are going out. Other tourists that are coming into South Africa, they are referred to as inbound tourists. So be careful on that one. And there is also particularly of interest, 1.3.5, type of inflation, where the aggregate demand for goods and services exceeds aggregate supply. This is not inflation, but is supposed to be a type of inflation. which is your demand pull inflation. So please take note of them. Take note of these concepts. We now come to the end of our lesson. You can leave your questions on the comments. Don't forget to leave your name and your school so that we can give out shout outs. And please share, comment, and subscribe to your YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in the next lesson. That is it with this first section of the overview. Please join me in the second part of Economics Paper 2 overview.